Welcome back, everyone. We're about to take a deep dive into a fascinating topic, wildlife monitoring with AI. I think most of us wouldn't be surprised if you told us AI was being used to help monitor animal populations, but this goes a bit deeper than that.
That's right.
You sent over some research from Sensors Journal that really piqued my interest. It's about the Round Island petrel, and, well, I gotta say, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, it gets pretty interesting.
So let's set the stage here. We're talking about using artificial intelligence to monitor these seabirds, but here's the thing that caught my eye. It's not as straightforward as you might think. It turns out that even for the most advanced AI, identifying birds and images can be a real challenge. Why is that?
You hit the nail on the head. It's trickier than it sounds. See, a lot of wildlife monitoring relies on these things called camera traps, which take pictures at set intervals. Basically, time-lapse photography.
Right, time-lapse, got it.
It's great for capturing data over long periods without creating massive video files.
Makes sense. Storage can be a real issue.
It is, but here's where the problem comes in. Traditional object tracking methods, the ones that work great for regular video, well, they kind of fall apart with time-lapse imagery.
Oh, I see. Because of the gaps between the images.
Exactly. The gaps make it hard to track anything that moves, especially when you factor in those changing backgrounds.
I can imagine. Light, weather.
Exactly. It all adds up to create a real headache for the AI trying to follow a bird flitting around.
Like trying to follow a hummingbird in a hurricane. No wonder it's tough. So how did they get around this?
The researchers turned to a pretty powerful AI system called YOLO.
YOLO. Catchy name. What's that stand for, if you don't mind me asking?
It stands for You Only Look Once. It's a really sophisticated object detection system that learns to spot objects, like our petrels here, in images. It's a step up from those traditional methods we were talking about. In this study, they were using YOLO 7, actually. It uses these things called anchor boxes and analyzes images at multiple scales to improve accuracy.
So it's like a super-powered bird watcher that can spot a petrel in a flash. Okay, so they've got their super-powered AI. Where do they get the data to train this YOLO system to find those Round Island petrels?
Well, Round Island, a small island near Mauritius, is where these petrels make their home. The researchers set up 10 camera traps there.
10?
Yeah. Over nearly 3 years, those cameras captured almost 182,000 images. It's a ton of data. They ended up meticulously labeling about 4,483 of those images, drawing bounding boxes around adults, chicks, and even eggs.
Wow, 182,000 images. I mean, I love birds, but that's a lot of bird watching. Did all the cameras capture roughly the same amount of data, or was it all over the place?
Actually, that's one of the interesting things about this study. Each camera ended up with a vastly different number of images, and the sizes of the birds in those images, even within the same camera, varied a lot too, depending on how close they were to the camera.
So it's not just a matter of teaching the AI, this is a bird. It's more like this is a bird, but it could be any size in any position against any background.
Right. And that was a challenge for training the AI, but it's also what makes this research so valuable. It reflects the unpredictable nature of the real world.
It's like training a detective to identify suspects from blurry security footage, taken at different angles and in different lighting. So how did they manage to pull this off?
Well, here's where it gets really clever. They use something called temporal feature engineering, and honestly, it's pretty revolutionary.
Temporal feature engineering, huh? Lay that on me. I am not an AI engineer.
Okay, so imagine you're trying to spot a bird hiding in a bush.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier if you know where it was just a moment ago.
Yeah, definitely. Gives you some context.
Exactly. They gave the AI the same advantage. Instead of just looking at each image on its own, they incorporated information from the previous images to give the AI a sense of time, basically a sense of context.
Whoa, they gave the AI a memory. How is that even possible?
It's all about how they feed the data to the AI. Think of it like this. They added 2 new channels of information to the AI's input. One is basically a grayscale image that averages the past 12 frames. That helps represent the static background. The other highlights anything that's changed between the current image and that background.
So it's like the AI is looking at a sort of flickering film of the recent past, not just the single snapshot. Pretty trippy. But how does that help it actually find the birds?
By comparing the current image to this film of the past, the AI could distinguish between things that stayed put, like rocks, and things that moved, which were more likely to be birds. That temporal context helped filter out the noise and zero in on those petrels.
It's like the AI is saying, okay, that rock's been there for a while. That's probably not a bird. But that blurry shit that just appeared, that's what I need to check out.
You got it.
Brilliant. So what kind of results did they see with this memory boost?
The results were pretty astounding. By incorporating those temporal features, they saw a 24% increase in accuracy.
Wait, 24%? That's
Mm,
huge.
it is. And this brings us to another really fascinating aspect of their work, how they trained the AI to handle all that variation in the data we talked about earlier.
Right, the different cameras, bird sizes, lighting, all of that. What did they do?
They couldn't just randomly split the data into training and testing sets.
Why not? What would happen if they did?
Imagine if the AI only ever saw images from one camera. It might end up thinking that all Round Island petrels look exactly like the ones from that specific angle and lighting.
Right, that makes sense.
So to avoid that, they used a technique called stratified sampling. It's a way of making sure that the AI trains on data that truly represents all the real-world variability in the data set.
Okay, so stratified sampling, break that down for me.
It's all about making sure that the training data is like a balanced meal for the AI. They carefully selected images from all the different cameras to make sure the AI saw petrels of all sizes in all sorts of conditions, day and night. That way it wasn't tricked by only seeing the easy examples.
So they made sure the AI got a taste of all the different flavors of petrels out there.
Exactly. This approach made sure the AI was versatile and could handle all those complexities of real-world monitoring. And based on their results, it seems like it really worked.
This is all really impressive stuff. So by giving the AI a memory and a balanced diet of training data, they managed to take bird monitoring to a whole new level. But this is bigger than just birds, right? Could this approach be used for other animals or even other fields entirely?
You're thinking along the right lines. This idea of giving AI a memory, it has implications that go far beyond just birds. We'll dive into that after a quick.
Well, think about it this way. Almost anywhere you've got images taken over time, this could be a game changer.
Okay, I'm all ears, laid on me.
So like security cameras, for example, instead of just looking for something suspicious in a single frame, the AI could actually track movements over time.
Ooh, that'd be useful.
Right. It'd be way easier to spot potential threats or anything unusual, like having a security guard with, a perfect memory. That's a huge step up from the systems we've got now. What about healthcare? I bet there are applications there.
Absolutely. Medical imaging is a perfect example. Think about things like MRI scans or X-rays.
Yeah.
By adding this temporal element, the AI could see these subtle changes over time,
Oh, that's interesting.
which could be incredibly valuable for early disease detection, helping with diagnoses, that sort of thing.
So it's like giving doctors a time-lapse view of their patient's health.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And even better, it could be used to monitor how well treatments are working by seeing how things change in response to therapy.
It's like watching a disease in slow motion, seeing exactly how it develops and how it responds to treatment. That's powerful stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the applications go even further.
Okay, I'm hooked. What else can you think of?
Self-driving cars.
Ooh, yeah, they rely heavily on object detection.
They do. And adding this kind of temporal context could help them predict the movements of pedestrians, cyclists, other vehicles even.
Right, because a pedestrian who's been standing still for the past minute is less likely to suddenly dart into traffic.
Exactly.
That could make autonomous driving much safer, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. And we're just scratching the surface here. Robotics, agriculture, even sports analysis.
Wow, so anything where you're working with a sequence of images, adding that element of time can unlock a whole new level of understanding.
It's like giving AI the ability to experience the world more like we do, right?
Mhm.
As this continuous flow of events instead of just a series of snapshots.
That's mind-blowing. But before we get too carried away with all these amazing possibilities, I'm curious about the challenges. Did the researchers run into any roadblocks when they were developing this?
Of course, it's never a smooth ride when you're pushing the boundaries.
Mm.
One of the biggest hurdles was balancing performance with computational cost.
Because adding more information means the AI has to work harder.
Exactly. And that can slow things down. So they couldn't just keep adding more and more temporal information without hitting some limits.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Were there any other challenges they had to wrestle with?
Data augmentation was another tricky one. Data augmentation is this technique where you artificially increase the size and diversity of your training data set.
Right. It's like giving the AI extra practice so it doesn't just memorize specific images.
Exactly. But when you're dealing with temporal information, data augmentation gets a lot more complicated.
I bet. You can't just randomly flip or rotate images anymore.
Right, because that messes up the order of events. So they had to come up with these clever ways to expand the data without messing with those all-important temporal relationships.
It's like trying to shuffle a deck of cards without changing the order of the suits.
You got it. And then on top of that, There's choosing the right neural network architecture for the job. There are so many different types, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. They had to find the one that was best suited to handling temporal information, especially with a data set as complex as this one.
It sounds like they had to solve a whole bunch of puzzles to make this work.
They did. But their success has opened up so many doors for the future of AI.
I can see that we've gone from talking about seabird monitoring to like the potential of AI to fundamentally change how we understand the natural world.
And, it brings up some even bigger questions.
Oh,
Like, how can we make these systems even more accurate and efficient? What about the ethical considerations as this technology keeps getting more and more advanced? And I think, most importantly, how can we make sure we're using all of this knowledge to benefit both humanity and the planet?
those are pretty profound questions. I'd say that's what this deep dive is all about, right? Exploring the depths of a topic and seeing where it takes us.
Exactly. And I think those questions are the perfect segue into the final part of our exploration. We've seen how this research works. We've talked about its broader implications. But what does it all mean? What are the long-term impacts on our understanding of the world around us?
Okay, I'm ready to tackle those big picture questions. Lead the way. Okay, big picture time. Where do we go from here? What does all of this mean for the future of AI? For our understanding of the natural world? Hit me with those mind-blowing insights.
All right, so think about it like this. For years now, we've been teaching AI to see the world like a photo album, right? A bunch of still images.
Yeah, frozen in time.
But this research, it's different. This is like we're finally teaching AI to see the world as a movie, a continuous flow.
That's a big shift. I'm starting to get why this is so exciting.
It is exciting because nature, the world around us, it's not static. It's constantly changing. And this approach finally lets AI grasp that dynamism.
We're not just talking about better bird watching here. We're talking about AI unlocking the secrets of nature itself.
Exactly. Think about things like, animal migrations or predator-prey relationships or how entire ecosystems grow and evolve. These are all processes that unfold over time.
And until now, we've been limited in how we can study those processes.
Exactly. But now, with this kind of AI, we can see those changes happening, like watching a time-lapse of a forest growing over decades.
That's incredible. It's like we're giving AI the tools to finally understand the language of the natural world.
And imagine the possibilities. Using AI to track endangered species, monitor the health of coral reefs, even predict the spread of, let's say, invasive plants.
We could be so much more effective at protecting the planet.
Right. And as this technology gets even more advanced, who knows what we'll be able to achieve? I mean, we might even see AI systems that can not only track animals, but can analyze their behavior, predict their movements, maybe even communicate with them in some way.
Communicate with animals. Now that's getting into sci-fi territory.
It might seem far-fetched, I know, but the potential is there. Think about it. If we can really understand how animals interact with each other and their environment.
We can protect them so much better.
Absolutely. And that understanding is crucial for all of us. If we want to make good decisions about how we manage our resources and protect the planet for the future, we need to have that kind of knowledge. And this research, it's just the beginning.
I have to say, this deep dive really has lived up to its name. I feel like I've learned so much. And the possibilities, it's mind-blowing.
It has been a fascinating conversation. Thanks for having me.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this journey. We hope you found it as thought-provoking as we did. Keep exploring, keep asking those big questions, and keep on diving deep into the world around us. See you next time.